What is up, guys? DPS Podcast episode 203. Slomo didn't disagree with me, so I must be right. It's another
It
great.
is. It is
it
203.
is
Now,
another great. Go
can
ahead.
they hear me though?
Yes, they can, because I went through and changed everything. So they
Good,
can
good,
definitely
good,
hear
good.
you. But episode 203 gonna be a great one. This is console release day. You know, it's not a brand new generation, but it's always exciting when new hardware is coming out and seeing people's opinions and everything like that, getting reviews, and then we have our own opinions about it from people that didn't buy the console, and our opinions still matter even though we didn't buy it, because I think we bring a completely different viewpoint than a lot of people actually that have the console has brought. So we're going to talk about that. We also are going to talk about Hogwarts Legacy. We're going to talk about Nintendo actually doing the right thing by making backwards compatible a thing. Nvidia out here telling people we ain't going to charge you more money, but we going to limit how much you can actually use our service monthly. So I guess that's a give and take, and Slomo will definitely be able to break that down because he's a connoisseur of GeForce Now. And then we're going to have a rapid fire section that's going to basically just go over 2 or 3 topics that are not really big topics, but stuff that we want to talk about before we get into the main course, which is PS5 Pro and the conversation we're going to have about the console, where we think it stands, and just our opinions on all of the talks and rumors and what people are talking about when it came to the reviews of it. But with that being said, I want to welcome my man, the myth, the legend, the man of many slaps, the man that he works hard out here, and he had to take a nap before the show. SloMoBackSlap, what is up with you, bro? How you been?
You ain't had to tell everybody I had a senior citizen nap before the show, but yeah,
I wish I
I
could have had
needed it.
one. I wish I could have had one.
Man.
I was hoping that you were hosting today, and I was like,
Hey, look, man. I set a timer on my phone. I was like, I need 1 hour. I need a good hour nap. And once that timer went off, I felt like I like blinked. I felt like I just closed my eyes and the timer was going off. I'm like, did I set it for 5 minutes? No, it's an hour later. So yeah, but I'm rested. I'm ready to go. It's been a long day, but yeah, I'm ready to do this, man. How's your day been?
interesting.
Console release day, huh?
Man, we sold all of our systems but 2 for the
Okay, so
day.
you still have 2 PS5 Pros that are unsold?
Yeah, I mean we sold out of all of our like everything that
Oh,
we
they
can
haven't
sell
been picked
extra.
up.
They
They're
just haven't been
pre-ordered.
picked. Yeah, their pre-orders haven't
Yeah.
been. Hopefully, they pick up by Saturday, because after Saturday, they're not held
It's a
anymore.
wrap.
It's a
Yeah.
wrap. So hopefully, I called them and said,
Are
"Hey,
they fully paid, or did they put like $5 down or something
oh
like that?
no, some of them are halfway paid off. I think one had like 3. They were both close to halfway paid off. So, but still, you got till Saturday." I called them and said, "Hey," left voicemails. It's like, "Hey, PS5
Uh-oh.
release, PS5
Not
Pro
the
release date.
voicemails.
Hey, listen, I hope those numbers are still the same, because people don't put their names, and you always get the generic, like, the voicemail box of such and such."
Yeah. The voicemail box of 976.
Right.
It's just like, yeah, all right, yeah, look.
Yeah. Or the
I get
infamous
it
one.
sometimes because you don't want to just give people information that you don't know. It's just being careful. But at the same time, you just never know
Well,
what that number is.
you also get the infamous one, whereas the mailbox of such and such is full.
That's a
I was,
problem.
I was like, "Ooh, hopefully you remember."
Hopefully you remember, because if not, we can't tell you. We can't
Because
help
I
you.
had I had people where I called, like, they had pre-orders, like they probably like games that were coming out that they announced, and they did pre-orders like a year before it came out, and I called them, and they had games that were fully paid off, and I'm like, "Yo, your game's gonna be in stock. He's gonna be here. Pick it up on this day. Bring your trade-ins, because you get 20% extra and all this other stuff." And then it goes to the number that you calling of the mailbox is full, and I'm like, "Well, hopefully you remember that the game comes out today." But yeah, but it was cool. Like, I went through all of my extras. I will say this, I did keep one for myself. at the end of the day, like towards like throughout the week, and I
I thought you ain't want
no,
one.
listen. I kept one for myself, and I was sitting there like, "There's one left back there, and in case I get the, you know how it is when you're working and you watch people pick stuff up, and then you get that itch, and you're like, I gotta buy it." So I was thinking that might happen, but a customer walked into the store and wanted to buy a PS5. And I was like, "Oh," I said, "which one are you trying to get? Are you trying to get the Pro or are you trying to get the standard system?" He's like, "Oh, you got a Pro?" I said, "I got one left." And as soon as he was like, "Oh, I'll take it," I was like, "Yeah, thank you for taking that weight off my mind, because I don't got one to buy myself now, because of fear of missing out, that FOMO." But
Mhm.
he bought it. Man, let me tell you, it is so fun talking to people that are just excited about games. Like this whole thing that we be hearing, like where people be going back and forth. Like these people that just walked in this store, they had different reasons. One person, like I traded in so many systems a day. One person literally traded in his Series X, his original PlayStation 5, and he was like, I don't need two Series X's. I got the Galaxy one. I said, "Oh, you got that?" He said, "Yeah, that's on my main TV now." And I don't need the original Series X, so I'm using that in my base PS5 to trade in towards the Pro. That was his reasoning. I had a person that literally
How much did he have left over to have to pay on the Pro after he did that?
like $170
Okay.
for both of them. He was like close to $600 for both systems, like I think it was like 570, so he had to pay like
And,
150 with tax and everything.
and that's just no vertical stand, no
No,
drive.
no drive. So that's another thing. So the guy that bought the one that I was like thinking about buying, that I was like holding, that dude, like, listen, the you know how you feel when you offer something. You used to work in sales, so you know how it is. When a person
Mhm.
just says yes to the first thing you say, and he was like, and I was like, "Yeah, $700." He was like, "Oh yeah, let me get that." Man, the first thing that popped in my head was dollar signs. I was like, "Oh, this dude about to buy everything." I was like, "Yo," I said, "Do you want to buy?" I said, "Are you trying to go digital or are you trying to go disc?" You say, "Yeah, I kind of want to play my PS4 games. My son still plays Minecraft. He has the disc." I said, "Well, I got 4 disc drives up there. I said I could get you one of those to
Oh,
go
you
with it."
actually have them. I thought they were still sold out.
No, they sent every store a couple of them. Like I had 4, so they sent me
Mhm.
4 for the ones that I had, and that's it. So I sold that, and I told her, I said, "Yeah, you might as well get it now because they're going for like $200 on eBay." And he was like,
Right.
"Yeah." He was like, "Yeah, let me get that now." He bought an extra controller. He bought the 2-year warranty because
Dang.
I said, "Bro, listen." I said, "Bro, listen. If this was a base PS5 on the 3rd revision, I would be like, you okay. But we talking about brand new tech out here, and I'd rather be able to
Oh man,
walk into a store."
you was Mr. Salesman
Bro,
at the
I was like,
day.
bro, I was out there like, bro, you might as well just go ahead, $700. I ain't trying to like mess around with my investment. I want my system back the day that I can get it back instead of sending
Oh
it to
man,
Sony. Man, my
you
man's
upsold this man.
dog.
This
And he bought the warranty on the system, 2-year warranty on it. Then he bought 3 games. He bought Pokemon Scarlet for his daughter on the Switch. He bought Silent Hill 2 for PS5, and he bought Call of Duty Black Ops 6 for PS5 and got warranties on all that. And my man was like, it was like a $1,200 sale. I was like, let's go. He was like,
yo,
man,
you basically was just
oh, and he got the power up card too. So he made sure that my man got the points and stuff. But when he left the store, I said, "Bro, let me know what you think of this." And I told that to everybody, because I'm not getting one. I want to hear people's excitement when they come back. They
well, have you seen the reviews? I mean,
Yeah, I
I
seen
guess
the reviews.
okay. Let's
We'll
not
talk.
get too deep in this
We're gonna, because that's the
because
end of it. But that's
yeah,
just my
it's a
experience.
topic.
People were. Yeah, it was just really cool to see people talk about it. And one customer called me back at the store. He had played Mortal Kombat on it. It was like, "Bro, Mortal Kombat is freaking incredible on this thing." I was like, my daughter would love it. But yeah, that's kind of how my day has been, slow mo. Just talking to guests and customers and slanging PlayStations, which is the greatest thing in the world when you sell a
Slanging
new console.
PlayStations.
Slanging PlayStations with all the accessories that PlayStation should have added in the box for extra. And guess what? PlayStation don't care because I sold out of all my discs, my stands, and my
It's
disc
exactly why
drives.
they. It's exactly why they did it. Nickel
So
and dime.
So outside of that,
Yep.
rest things I've been playing for the week, NCAA. I am almost done with Octopath Traveler 2 because I'm playing that through Game Pass. That's kind of the other game I've been playing, and I did finish the Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, the one where you play as Princess Zelda. That was awesome. I actually liked that game. So that's kind of what I've been doing over the course of the week. Slow-mo, what about you, man? Big games came out for you, and what did you do today, and what have you been playing over the week?
Well, I told myself that I wasn't able to beat Metaphor before Veilguard came out, but that's okay because I'm near the end of Metaphor, and I'll just keep, I will divvy up my time between the two games, and then I'll finish Metaphor, then I can focus solely on Dragon Age: The Veilguard. And I should have realized I was lying to myself when I said that because I've never been able to. I play multiple games at once. It's something that I always do, but I never play multiple RPGs at once because they're so like engrossing and time consuming. And for me, it's just like I can't divvy up my time like that. Like for example, this week I've been playing Black Ops 6, and I've been playing Dragon Age: The Veilguard, and I've been playing a little Fortnite with my friend Numsy, and you know those are all different kinds of games. So that hasn't been problematic for me to just do that. Now, unfortunately, when you got two RPGs that are, completely different storylines, completely different, combat style, and yeah, man, I haven't gone back to Metaphor yet. I'm going to beat it for me to be this far in. It's just I'm probably if I'm being realistic, I'm probably going to beat Veilguard before I get back to Metaphor. But how I'm playing Dragon Age of Veilguard, I think is probably a little different than how other people are playing it. Most people are just they made the character, they make their rook, they're playing through the game, they're making decisions or whatever, they're having their dialogue choices. I, on the other hand, have made three different characters, and those three different characters are three different combat classes. One's a rogue, one's a warrior, one's a mage, and I also have them based upon how because they've borrowed a lot from Dragon Age 2, which I think is a bit of an underrated game. It wasn't the best Dragon Age game, but it wasn't as bad as people make it out to be. The biggest complaints about Dragon Age 2 are one, the combat coming. It was a very jarring change in combat going from a CRPG or the typical Bioware Q system style combat to very much more action RPG oriented, and it was uh it was very a different. So a lot of people who were fans of Origins, due to mostly the combat, were very felt betrayed, kind of taken aback with that. That said, um, this game is like a much more in depth Dragon Age 2 system of combat with a far more robust skill tree, and it borrows some elements from Anthem with the priming and detonating aspects of the combat. But the combat's good. It's very good. And I've like I said, I got three different classes. Other aspects they've taken from Dragon Age 2 is in dialogue. Um, You got like your very like Paragon accepting. It's the thumbs up option. It's for those who are playing the game, they know what I mean by thumbs up option. It's the icon that you see when you're about to choose that dialogue choice. There is the sarcastic dialogue option, and then there's the pushback. And that pushback, like those icons are exactly the same icons that you see in Dragon Age 2. But the problem is, and something that I wanted to just kind of discuss with you real quick before we get into the topics. The issue that I'm having, and probably my biggest issue right now with Dragon Age: The Veilguard, is the lack of choice when it comes to how you respond to things. Because in Dragon Age 2 or any of the older BioWare games, going Renegade, is kind of what people would call it, although it wasn't called that in the Dragon Age series. But you have the option to be as evil as you want to be as mean as you want to be,
Right.
to a degree. And even when you would choose those options, you will also kind of get a reaction from NPCs, your own party members, the world itself for the things that you would do. If you were very helpful, there's a reaction to that. You were sarcastic, people would call you kind of a dick or a-hole for being sarcastic in moments that probably didn't warrant it. Or you're being super evil, like people will react to that. I think their decisions with this game is kind of based upon a lack of time after the game had been rebooted twice, canceled once, rebooted twice, and they did not rebooting it from a multiplayer game back to a purely single player title, where if it was a multiplayer game you probably didn't have a lot of those kind of dialogue choices in there, because like how could you do that with multiple party people in the party potentially needing to have a say. They probably didn't have all those dialogue choices all set up like that, therefore adding it in the way it is usually intended to be with BioWare, just they didn't have the time. Because if you're going to have Renegade dialogue options, you're going to have to have reactions to those things. And if you don't have that, then it kind of falls hollow, which it still does, unfortunately, because even with the pushback option, the sarcastic option, the acceptance option, me playing the game with 3 different characters and choosing a particular like personality for each one, I am seeing that these choices don't matter. If I'm talking to an NPC and I say something sarcastically to that NPC, and then they give a response back that doesn't acknowledge my sarcasm, if you're only playing it one time or one playthrough, you may think they're just ignoring you kind of being a jerk, but they're not. Because if you said it with a pushback response or a thumbs up response, they're still saying the same thing. Their
Right.
dialogue doesn't change. And so it's just like, what's the purpose of having different options when it doesn't matter? You see, like in Dragon Age 2, if Dragon Age 2 had a hidden system where it would kind of like catalog how many times you would choose certain responses. So if the main character in Dragon Age 2 was Hawk, and if you were always being sarcastic with Hawk, it was cataloging that, it was charting that, and then you would start to see responses from people who knew you that would be like, oh, like they know you're about to be sarcastic about it, or they kind of like know if you're pretty mean, that they have a certain attitude that they have with you whenever you speak with them. Like none of that is in this game, and so there is a lack of that. It is reminiscent of Mass Effect Andromeda in that case, because Mass Effect Andromeda did the same thing. the Ryder twins, there was no renegade options for them. And I think that there are some people who may be fine with that. They may be fine that it's the narrative seems to has shifted in a way where your character Rook has a bit more agency in it than in previous games. But for those who are old school BioWare fans, that's not what they're here for. You know, we're not here for,
Right.
you know, a typical RPG where the main character is it has a personality, you know, and you're kind of just there um for the ride, which you know, like which is there are RPGs, and this is a RPG for the people who want to say it's not, but like there'll be people who will be like, oh well, you know, I'm fine with that in say Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth, where I don't really have much of a choice in regards to how the story goes and the characters
Right.
are who they are. You know, Cloud is an emo weirdo, and that's not going to change. You know, if you want Cloud to be, you know, flirting with Tifa and Aerith every time he talks to him, it's just not going to happen because that's not how the story is written.
Mhm.
And people who have been fans of Bioware games have a appreciation of having a little bit of agency in there, and it's not necessarily saying it's better, it's different. And for people with different preferences when they come to play the RPGs, that's an expectation that they have with Bioware games, and to not have that there is problematic. It's a problem. And so I get the pushback in that aspect. It's probably my biggest disappointment as of now. But they dropped the patch earlier today. I was playing the game when they dropped the patch. Stopped the game, reinstalled the patch, started playing again. They cleaned up a couple little nagging bugs that I was having.
Mhm.
Um, I looked at the patch notes. There was far more little minor issues that I mean, it's a fairly well optimized game, especially on PC, which is rare nowadays. But to be optimized at launch, but this one is, which is something they I think they deserve to have a little credit for. But yeah, a lot. They seem to have been fixing a lot of little minor issues that were going on with the game, with like technical bugs and other like dialogue issues and stuff like that. But yeah, look, I'm enjoying the game. I did decide I'm just gonna go with my mage and beat the game with my mage, and then I'll finish it with the rogue and the warrior because I've I see enough now to know that it's not really. You have situations where you have to make choices, and those choices matter, and they'll have like permanent effects on like your party members because some of them may have a stake in some of the decisions that you make, and those are dope. It reminds me of Dragon Age Awakenings in that. But as far as dialogue goes, like me having three different characters with three different personalities doesn't mean much because you can't be mean, you can't be a renegade, you can't be evil, and even if you were, none of the world or the NPCs or your party would respond, you know, accordingly
Right.
to that kind of behavior. So it is what it is. But yeah, I'm my if you want some gameplay for that, I can send that to you
Yeah, you can.
in the yeah. Let me go ahead
Yeah,
pop that in there.
so the question I'll ask you is, do you think in Dragon, do you think it's more of a step back, or do you think it's just a different way of going about how they're, you know.
In some ways it's a step back, and in other ways it is just different, you know.
Right,
And I
yeah.
think that some of the stuff that people are upset about are it just kind of show they're tourists of the series. They don't know what they're talking about. The themes that they are complaining about have always been there. But then there are the people that just like, yeah, well, the writing isn't quite up to snuff as to what it was before. And for those who are saying that, I agree. The writing is not as quite as good as it was before. And I kind of did somewhat expect that to be the case, considering that current day BioWare has not really been able to match the writing chops of old school BioWare. I don't think they've had a well written game in story and characters and dialogue since Dragon Age Inquisition, which is literally a decade ago, and they've dropped
Right.
2 games since then. The level of quality is not the same. There is a particular character in this game that may be one of the worst characters they've ever created, and so that's going to have people feeling some kind of way, and it's not because of the character's pronouns or the character's gender identity. It's because the character is just written in a way to be as annoying in any dialogue, in any conversation possible whatsoever. Even when you're doing like personal quests and you're learning a little bit more about them, and they start to soften up a little bit. You're like, okay, all right, you can be cool in some situations, but then like after that, you're just like, here we go again. And so it's kind of annoying. But
Right.
the game is a good game. It's not as bad as some have tried to portray it to be. But it's also like I've seen some like feedback from reviewers that's like 10 out of 10, best Dragon Age game in the series. Stop the cap. That's not that. It is not that. You wilding. You were wilding because it's not that good, bro. But I'm enjoying myself though.
That's good.
So.
Pause. But that's good. I'm enjoying myself. um, cool. Well, I am happy to hear that you are enjoying, because I know this is, of all the games that came out or were coming out, I know this was a game that, I mean, it was a lot of ups and downs with the the release of this game, from them showing like two different title screens, and you know I think they showed the game more times in title screens than they did before they actually got to start showing gameplay. It was just ridiculous. And it
Yeah,
was good.
EA has been EA's marketing, I have to say, has been on point with this game. When
Yeah.
and talking about getting it out there and getting it in the like in front of people. I have seen commercials for it. Um,
Nice.
I have seen advertisements on like my on like Roku kind of stuff. Like I got a smart TV, and well, I got multiple smart TVs, but one of my smart
Mhm.
TVs, every time I turn it on for the past week, you know how like they and I'm pretty sure it's kind of tuned into kind of like Google AdSense and a Google profile of myself and
Mhm.
the things that I'm interested in. But every time I turn that TV on, I see a Dragon Age advertisement in the little ticker at the top where it kind of rotates some things that they think you might be interested in. And Dragon Age is the first thing there. For the past week, since the game has been out, it's been like that. And I just okay, like they spend their money. They're definitely spending that money, and I've seen its concurrent users on Steam is decent. It's not amazing, but it's decent. Its sales seem to be, it has flip-flop positions with Black Ops 6 on Steam, which if you're trading spots with Call of Duty,
Mm.
like people can say whatever they want. No one's going to believe that's bad. Like you
Right.
gotta be kind of insane to think that means it's not doing well. Like you're kind of crazy. So, but no, it's we'll see how in the long term it plays out. But it's pretty good so far.
That's all that matters.
Um, yep.
So let's get into the first topic, talking about Hogwarts Legacy. So new information has come out. There is a sequel, which was, everybody knew this was going to happen. The game, it was like one of the only few games that ever outsold Call of Duty in a calendar year. Um, and still didn't get a chance to win Game of the Year due to, outside influences that the game couldn't control. But we're not gonna get into that, because I still felt like the game should have been up for Game of the Year, because it sold so well, and it was actually a game that people really enjoyed. But yes, a sequel for the game Hogwarts Legacy is in production, And Warner Brothers and Discovery say it's a very big priority. The game is planned to coordinate storylines with the upcoming Harry Potter HBO series, according to Warner Brothers. And their president came out and talked. So, Slow-Mo, we are getting to the point where we're merging TV, cinema, and video games together more and more frequently.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what now is we know with everything that's been going on with Warner Brothers, with just the whole buyout thing that was kind of coming up, the fact that they Discovery was thinking about selling off the gaming division and everything like that. So there's probably a lot really riding on this, and it makes sense that they are doing the whole tie-in with the HBO series. First thing is, what do you think about this? And what would you like to see, and how would you like to see it implemented based on all of the other type of tie-ins we saw when it came to video game and TV adaptations?
I have concerns.
Oh,
I got big concerns.
we're starting real fresh, y'all. Here, let's go.
So WB Games is pretty incompetent when it comes to these things, and I think Hogwarts Legacy is an accidental success, and I say that because based off of the statements that WB Games has made, even after Hogwarts Legacy was a runaway success, was on its way to being the best sold game of 2023. You still had WB Games executives talking about how they were going to focus on multiplayer live service titles instead of single player games. It's just like, did you know that your most successful game is a single player game only? Like, what are you doing? And so, and then, you got Suicide Squad that failed financially. Didn't do great critically either. You got I feel like there's another one, Multiverses, which didn't do well. And it's like you don't understand that, like, you don't have to go all in with your entire freaking catalog in this one direction that you're clearly not good at. And you keep doing the cardinal sin of taking any studio that's of quality and saying, make something that you never made before, and then being upset when they don't do a great job at it. Like Rocksteady makes really good single player action games. Arkham games are classic games that will, I say, still have kind of stood the test of time and really like solidified them as a developer that it will always be thought of well. And they've kind of hurt their own legacy by kind of like forcing them into this Suicide Squad multiplayer game. And then, as what usually happens when you have talent that is really good at making a certain kind of game, but they're a little bit out of their wheelhouse, and they kind of feel forced into making something they're not passionate about, they leave. And so a good number of the talent that was there at Rocksteady for Arkham Asylum and Arkham City, those people, Arkham Knight, those people aren't there anymore. And so, like, you really hurt the studio. It reminds me, and hopefully it doesn't end up in the same way, but it reminds me about Arcane Austin, which was, they were good at making interactive sims, and they were quality in that. Whether they didn't sell great, but regardless, the games were quality. And they got forced into making Redfall, which was out of their wheelhouse, and they had a massive number of turnover from people who weren't really trying to make that kind of game. And so it just, I say all to say about how frustrating it is to kind of see WB Games ignore those kind of successes. And the reason why I say I have concerns, because we know that Hogwarts Legacy 2 is in full production now, but is it still the kind of game that the first one was? Like, there's a reason why the first game did so well, and it is partially because it's Harry Potter and people wanted to play Harry Potter. But the other aspect of it is it's Harry Potter, but it's also a really good game. And it's a game that really nailed the world of Harry Potter. It's a game that had a very good action RPG combat system. It had a decent story, beautiful visuals, fully realized what's the name of the castle. I can't remember the name of the castle, but
Um,
um
oh my God, Hogwarts.
Hogwarts. It's in the
The
name. Good
name
grief,
of
the
the
name.
game.
Look, I'm tired. Yeah, I know I'm
No.
tired. But like the Hogwarts school, like it looks exactly like it. You know,
Yeah.
everything was fantastic. Portkey Games put their foot in it. They held it down. They did the job. Now, are you going to let them do a sequel that is a single player game with no multiplayer in it that has takes the system from the first game, just makes it a little better, evolve it a little bit more, flesh out the systems a little bit more, take it from good to amazing? Are you going to allow them to kind of continue on this good story with these good characters and just kind of keep that going? Or are you going to say, hey, look, now that it's super popular, let's get some reoccurring revenue going?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Even though we made a boatload of money, 25 million copies of the first game, instead, let's slide into multiplayer.
Oh no.
Let's take a portion of the resources that would have gone towards engaging side quests and storylines. Forget all that. Let's put in 3-player co-op. And it's just like that's the kind of thing, and I know it seems like I'm passing judgment on them, and I am to a degree.
You
But
are.
this is the kind of behavior they've shown over the past 2 or 3 years. They did not think Hogwarts Legacy was going to be as successful as it was.
Right.
And now that they're like, trying to focus in on it, like I really think that it's okay if you want to have multiplayer. If you want to have reoccurring revenue, you want to have a live service Harry Potter game. Just don't make it this game. Let Hogwarts Legacy 2 be a better version of Hogwarts Legacy. Let it be a single player action RPG that has a massive open world and make it even prettier than the previous one was. And then make a separate Harry Potter game. Maybe Quidditch. Since Quidditch wasn't in the first game, put
Mm-hmm.
Quidditch as a completely free to play live service separate game. If you want to play Quidditch, if you want to get into that, if you want to do all the kind of multiplayer combat stuff and flying and trying to get the snitch and all that other stuff, do it with cosmetics, left and right, and hey, you want to look like actual Harry Potter or Hermione or whoever the heck else that's from the actual, it makes no sense for that to happen in the time period this would be in, but whatever, it's live service, no one cares, right? Do all that stuff and put it in a different game and have a different team work on it. Don't cheap out. Actually have put enough budget so that you have 2 games with separate budgets and enough money to actually get it done right, and stop wasting people's time and stop disappointing people when you take something that's like really good and then you kind of ruin it on the sequel. So that's just kind of like my thoughts on it. I just kind of hope that they don't pull a WB Games and just ruin something that turned out to be really good.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the kind of the thing with a lot of things. I think when we were talking about this before, we thought about like what would when you have a big IP like this that has a lot of success, are you going to try to milk that IP for everything that it has and kind of change up the formula that made that IP as successful as it was. Because, like you said, the overall gameplay, the overall ability tree, just the upgrades and everything, single player, all that stuff is what made the game as great as it was. It's so incredibly well. But we all know that a lot of these companies now they're looking for recurring revenue. And the one thing about Hogwarts Legacy, once you bought it, that was it. Now the game sold like crazy. But I also would tell people that's kind of what the recurring revenue is. Over the course of a year, people that never played the game and they keep hearing about it will go out and purchase it. So you don't, I mean, yes, you would love to have things in the game that people consistently can go in and buy and make it so you have some type of revenue that is lasting, over the course of one person's time playing the game. All of these companies have different metrics, like,
Hmm.
like I'll tell you like this, like with GameStop, we tell people, pro members make more money, save more money and spend more money than regular consumers. It's an actual dollar amount to that. So I guarantee if you go look at something like Apex Legends or Fortnite, they're looking at it on average. Every person in the game has a certain dollar amount. They say, we're just going to throw a number out there. Fortnite, they think everybody that downloads Fortnite on average, every consumer will spend 50 or $60. Now
Oh,
we're
more
talking,
than that.
yeah.
Wait,
Well, I'm
what?
just throwing, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
just throwing a number out there.
I,
But
I,
yeah, that's a lot of
I'm gonna
money.
say this as someone who's played a lot of Fortnite. I
You
multiple
spent more than
times.
that.
Yeah, I've spent way more than that. But even if you're not talking about me, nobody just spends $50 in Fortnite and you play it pretty consistently. And I've seen multiple people try. I've seen people come in like, look, man, I don't know if I'm gonna like, playing Fortnite like that. I play it with with my homies, whatever, because you guys want to play it, but I'm fine with that basic skin they just gave me, the dude with the cargo
With
pants
the cargo pants,
and the
yeah.
fatigues and just the random face. Yeah, I'm fine with that, man. Then they go from, well, you know what, man, I'm gonna get that battle pass. I'm tired of seeing this dude over and over and over again. And they got some fire stuff in that battle pass. That's cool. And then they get the battle pass, they level that up. Eventually they get to the point where they're like, oh word, they just put Ghostface from Scream. I'm buying it.
Yep.
Oh man, they just put Iron Man in there, buying it. Oh man, they just put like, yo, it is a progression. Everyone gets there, and Epic knows it.
Mhm. Yeah, so
So
yeah.
you can hold out as much as you want, but you will eventually be spending $20-$30 on some skins.
Man, people literally log into Fortnite just to, I know because I was one of them, would log in
Buy
just
the
because
skin
they and
and
never
turn the
jump
game
in
off.
and turn the game off just so I can have the skin for a later date. It's
Yep.
crazy. But that, I mean, I get it. And that's the biggest
You
fear
know what?
of
I
a game.
Before I became a regular Fortnite player, I did that when I found out that my favorite author, Brandon Sanderson, had a character in Fortnite. In his series called Mistborn.
Yeah, Mistborn.
Um, there's a character called Kelsier, and I found out that Kelsier was going to be in Fortnite, and I was like, really? I was like, he's in there right now. Last day, I reinstalled the game, Forte, reinstalled it so that I could buy the skin, and then I uninstalled it again.
Hmm.
And then a year later, when they finally came out with Zero Build, is when I jumped in and I was like, "Yo, who was this dope? Is that Kelsier? Oh yeah, I did buy this." And that was like the one skin I was using the entire time while I played until I eventually started buying a whole bunch of other stuff. But it's just, yeah, people do that, man. Because they're like, yeah, I'll come back and play some Fortnite. But
Hmm.
I want to look dope when I come back and play Fortnite. And
Well,
unlike other
yeah.
games where they're like, hey, Call of Duty does it, Halo does it. Look at my skin, but you really kind of flossing for other people because you can't see yourself. So other people see your cool skin, but you don't see your cool skin. But in Fortnite, it's third person perspective. You're watching what you paid for, all throughout the match that you're playing. So it's
That's part of the reason why Halo is adding a third person mode to the game because
mhm.
you're buying, what does it what good are skins if you can't see them unless you're dying
Yeah.
or you're in
But, by the way,
after.
I gave you the Dragon Age gameplay.
Oh, okay,
It's in the shared
got you.
folder. But yeah. Like I mean, and it makes sense. And I know there are some that are like, I'm never playing Halo in third person. I'm not doing it. And it's just like, okay, you don't have
All
to
right.
do it. But there are people who are not long-term Halo fans that weren't playing Halo back in 2003,
Mm-hmm.
that didn't wait in line for Halo 2 and Halo 3, outside of GameStop. There are people who didn't do any of that stuff. And as far as Halo Studios is concerned, they are just as important as you are. And
Yeah.
if getting them to play the game only requires them to have a well done third person perspective mode, they're going to add a third person perspective mode.
Yeah.
So just get
Yeah.
used to it.
Yeah. Definitely get used to it. All right, let's talk some Nintendo.
Yeah.
We finally we finally like these dudes just woke up. Like it's like so cloak and dagger. They just come out and say, earlier this year, like, hey, we're just gonna let you guys know that there is a successor to the Switch.
Like
We
we
are
didn't
working.
know.
Yeah, like we didn't know. It is something that we're working on. We're not gonna talk about it this year, so don't ask us. It's going to be something we'll talk about by the end of our physical year of 2024, which is in March of next year. So we're basically not going to really hear anything about this system until probably February or March. That's fine. But they did give us a tidbit over the course of the last couple of days where they talked about, hey, guess what? Nintendo is actually going to do the right thing and not charge us for games that we already own anymore. They are allowing you, which is really funny that they're allowing you. They are allowing
Mhm.
us, allowing us to be able to take the games that we have for the Switch already, and they will be backwards compatible to the new platform. Which they're still just keep saying the Switch successor. Just tell us it's a Switch 2. That's
Yeah,
probably much what
at
it's
this
going to be.
point, the fact that we're in November now and they still haven't like done at least the name, like you ain't gotta show us, because if I recall correctly, how they did the Switch was they said what it was, but they didn't like show us it,
Show us until they actually did the Switch trailer.
right? Which was like in like spring of the next
Yeah,
year,
it was like
and
a
then
month. It was like 2 months
with a
before the system
release.
came out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like there were 2 months or so, or then the system comes out. Which, if they're gonna do that again, okay, that's fine.
Hmm,
But the fact that they haven't done that yet tells
crazy.
me that with your gameplay, I'm looking. You got like a visual glitch. Why is everything black? That's supposed to be snow.
Yours is black. It's showing black for you.
No, yeah, and on the Call of Duty, you don't see the ground being black.
No, on my gameplay, it's regular. Oh yeah, I do see it in the no. Yeah, I do see it.
Yeah,
That's weird.
that's a visual glitch. That's supposed to be snow.
Oh, is that really all that black in? So the white and the black, that's all supposed to be snow.
Yeah,
I did not
it
know
ain't,
that.
it ain't supposed to be black like that. That's weird.
Oh, that is a good, yeah.
Interesting.
Oh, I thought that was like charcoal or something. Did snow around it?
Well, there is some charcoal that's there, like in the area that you're at. Like, there's a little area, with like a cart that has charcoal in it, but it shouldn't be all over the map like that.
Oh, really?
At least when I've played this map, it isn't. It's more snow than anything. But anyway, sorry, I
That's
got
no,
off
no,
topic.
no, no, no. You're right. I mean, listen, you would know because you play a lot of this game, so I'm with you.
Yeah. Um.
Go ahead.
No, so So I will defend Nintendo a little bit here.
Okay.
Um, Sales of the Nintendo Switch are down, and they had to readjust their forecast for total sales of the Nintendo Switch in the upcoming throughout the rest of this fiscal year. I think they dropped the forecast like another million,
Yeah.
and I think sales have been down at 1.31%, and then I think the most latest numbers was it were down 26% year over year, and
Mm-hmm.
so as it will happen when you announce you got new hardware coming out,
Hmm.
as people become more aware that there's new hardware coming, they are less inclined to buy the old hardware knowing there's something new right around the corner. And so us more informed hardcore gamers knew this about the Nintendo Switch 2, or the Super Nintendo Switch as I would love to call it and hope they name it. Um, we've known that for a while, and therefore you're not buying a Nintendo Switch unless you're a really hardcore Nintendo fan that buys everything they make, or your current Switch breaks down on you, and you play your Switch so often that you need that replacement and you can't wait. Otherwise, most people are just going to wait until the Super Nintendo Switch comes out, and they will play that. Nintendo had to do backwards compatibility, and that was, I think that was something that was likely in the cards when they first started brainstorming and working on this new piece of hardware. But like, that's what everyone else is doing. You can't be the only person in the console market that doesn't allow the player to bring their games with them to a new platform. It's just it's not gonna fly in this day and age, and I think they recognize that, and they made plans accordingly. That's it. Like, the information they gave us, this week, I think was partially to kind of trying to hype people up for this new release. To kind of get here's some morsels of information to kind of excite you guys. You're going to be able to play your old games on this new device, and more than likely, they're going to perform better because the new device is far more powerful than the Nintendo Switch, and so
Right.
that's good. Um, I'm somewhat disappointed because I always in my mind felt like the Switch to the Super Nintendo Switch 2, whatever you want to call it, was going to come out before the next fiscal year ended, and considering they still haven't really like made an announcement of like what the name of the device is, and instead of just calling it the successor, which is clearly not even the project name,
Mm-hmm.
that it's not it's probably going to be late 2025 instead of early 2025, the way in 2017 it released early in the year. And so it is what it is. It's disappointing, but so far so good as far as I'm concerned, because for me there were two deal breakers on me getting the new Nintendo. One was not having backwards compatibility. If it didn't have that, I wasn't getting it.
Right.
Two was Fire Emblem. I need to have a Fire Emblem. If you don't have a Fire Emblem to drop, I see no reason to buy this device. When you get Fire Emblem is when I will buy it. So whether that's at launch, a year or two later, you get a new Fire Emblem, and not, what was it, Fire Emblem Stars, Heroes, or some crap like that, where it's
Yeah.
basically like Dynasty Warriors, but I ain't playing that. I want Fire freaking Emblem, a real Fire Emblem game. Yes, Engage was not that great. Yes, I still played through and beat the game twice. I do not care. Give me Fire Emblem, I will buy your device. So if Nintendo is listening, you know what you need to do.
Do what you do.
Yep. Give me Fire Emblem. I buy whatever you make.
Mm. Someone loves Fire Emblem.
I love me some Fire Emblem.
I thought you would what was it? I remember when Fire Emblem came out, so and you got rid of your Switch. I was like, "What about Fire Emblem?" He said, "I beat that game like 4 times.
Yeah, yeah.
I
And
don't need another one."
and I didn't even the one I got now. I got a Switch OLED right now, and I didn't even really want
Didn't
it.
your wife buy you that for Christmas or something?
My birthday, yeah, which
Your
is like
birthday,
a
yeah.
month after Christmas. Like my birthday is in January, so yeah. So I was just like, oh, okay, I didn't want to, but I answered the question that I should have realized where she was going with it. She actually was like, "You have a gaming PC, and you have a PlayStation, and you have an X. You don't have a Nintendo?" And I was like, "Nah, I don't have a
No,
Nintendo."
I
And
don't need neither.
it should have clicked right then and there.
He was trying.
Where this
He was trying to.
questioning.
He was trying to get you, bro.
Yeah, I should have been like, and I don't want one. It's like, and I'm good.
So how do
Okay,
you? So how do you go about?
give me a new GPU though.
Yeah,
That's what I should
yeah,
have said.
exactly. Yeah. How do you go about? Like, this is a good question for people in like very very serious relationships and married people. What do you do when someone buys you something that you really don't want? What do you do? Especially if it's something like a Switch, where it's not a cheap thing.
Okay, so I would say it depends on the relationship slash marriage. If you are with someone who would take it personally that they didn't quite get it right,
Right.
then you kind of just grin and bear it. And so that's what I did. Like I still have it, and I even though I got play that game Emio that came out, I bought it and I still haven't played it yet. I need to play that on it, but like I use it occasionally. I'll probably use it more when I'm on vacation and out of town. I bring the Switch OLED with me, and I also bring what's it about a laptop with me so I could do GeForce Now, and
Right.
so I'll have those, and that gets my gaming in while I'm on vacation or away for whatever reason. So yeah.
Yeah. Ooh, yeah. I just always wondered if always meant to ask you that, because I remember when you got the Switch and you was like, I think my wife about to buy me a Switch and I don't want it. You wish you would have, like you said, that GPU sound really good. It's a little bit more pricey. She might have bought it
Yeah.
for you though. You never know.
Right.
Um,
Right.
well, with that, then you actually brought up a good segue to that. First of all, everybody in the chat really appreciate the 30 plus people that are here. Hit the like
Hit the
button. If
like button.
hit the
Hit the
like button,
subscribe button. We trying to hit 500, 500,
500.
500. We trying to hit 500 subscribers. So please hit the like button and hit the subscribe button so that if next time we go live, which for my at least for me, I can't speak for Forte, but for
Oh Lord.
myself, I do some lunchtime with slow mos here. I it'll be around lunchtime and I just be on here rambling. And sometimes, I do some
Yes, you
live
do.
streams of games that I would never play on my own without the chat uh annoying me
Did you ever finish
enough
Alien
to
Isolation?
I sure have it. I gotta get back to that. But I can also not play that and play something else if that's not Death
Oh
Stranding or
my.
Bug Snacks. But just let me know. But no, yeah, I need to finish Alien Isolation. But look, hey, I'm not trying to toot my own horn or pat myself on the back, but I think I'm a pretty decent streamer. So just come on
I
through.
told you you're a very good streamer, and I think you got the gift of gab when it comes to playing games and still having that conversation with the chat and make them feel involved. So I definitely want you to keep that up. But like I said, shout out to everybody that hit the like button and sub to the channel. Um, halfway there, and let's get to this next topic. SloMo, this is made for you, bro. As soon as I saw this, I was like, this could be of two ways. Nvidia is capping GeForce Now. Now, on one hand, they're not charging you more money monthly for the subscription service that allows you to, play with a 3080 or 4080 in the sky. They're not taking that away from you by making you pay more money. But they are capping the overall bandwidth that you are able to use over the course of a month to 100 hours monthly.
Yes.
How do you feel about this, SloMo, being a person that religiously uses GeForce Now, especially when you go on your nice vacations where you get to sit on a beach and hope that the fans work so you don't have to run to Walmart and buy them?
That's funny. You mean hope the AC works and I don't have to go to Walmart
and you don't have to go buy
fans,
fans. Right. You're right.
Shout out to that Airbnb. Good grief. What an experience. So look, I don't use GeForce Now as often as I'm a regular user of it, and I have the highest tier. Forgot what it's called, but that gives me access to a RTX 4080 in the cloud. And if one is not available, then at the bare minimum, I get a RTX 3080, which is also a very good GPU. It is GeForce Now by quality, by the visual fidelity, latency, which is the most important part of cloud gaming. It is the best. It is head and shoulders above their competition. It's better than Boosteroid. It's better than Xbox, xCloud. It's better than all that stuff. That's it. Anytime you take something away, you put limitations on what someone is capable of doing within your service, and there is no give or take. There is nothing that you're gaining from it. It's bad. It's just a negative. This is not good that Nvidia is doing this. That said, there's always degrees to things, and so I wonder. I don't have this information, but I wonder if Nvidia is kind of doing this to kind of hit off something that might be occurring in the future, as far as the popularity of the service, or whether they're kind of in a situation where, look, Nvidia is dumb rich right now. They're making a ton of ridiculous money, but maybe GeForce Now itself isn't pulling in it as much as they would like, and they want to dedicate services, cloud-based services, to other things, and that would then mean that there is now going to be less availability for that stuff, and that kind of creates a situation where you need to start capping to 100 hours per month. Now, for me personally, again, because I'm a PC gamer primarily, and I don't use, and I'm I work from home. I'm not, and even if I was working in the office, if I was going to play something, it would be on my lunch break for 30 minutes, if that. I'm never hitting 100 hours in a month.
Mm-hmm.
Even if I went on vacation and it was the only way I could do any gaming while I was on vacation for a week, I'm still not hitting 100 hours in a month. So that's why, and I know I'm kind of speaking for myself, but I don't think that cloud, no one, even with GeForce Now being as good as it is, I don't think there is anybody that primarily plays games through GeForce Now. Now, there may be a few, of course, I can't say as an absolute. There are probably a few that do. But I'm thinking that that number is so small that it's not worth, in their eyes, business-wise, worth making a big deal about making sure those people are good. Because 100 hours seems I'm not gonna say generous because I feel like that's a wrong way of looking at it. 100 hours for a cloud service that most people still want to play native. Like GeForce Now is
Yeah.
good, but it's not better than a game locally running off of hardware that's directly in front of you. And I kind of wonder if it's for them, it's less than like 5% of the people who use GeForce Now are exceeding 100 hours. And so for them, they looked at it and was like, this is a worthwhile risk because it's not that big a deal. That said,
Mhm.
the fact that you had unlimited time to a degree, because I think they always kind of had like in one session, there was a max time for one session, I think. Maybe something like 8 or 12 hours.
Mhm.
They'll like force you off. Um, but yeah, this is it's not good for gamers, but I also don't think it's a like a huge massive idea or a big huge massive problem. Like if you're playing GeForce Now for longer than 100 hours a month, it might just be time for you to invest in an actual gaming PC. Even if it comes to, depending on your situation, oh, well, I'm using GeForce Now while I'm on the road. Um, a good friend of the channel, Cat Daddy Lurk, he
Mhm.
travels a lot, and even I remember used to have playing Fortnite, and what other game would be Road Company with
Mhm.
him, and he would be on the road with a mini ITX PC build, and
Mhm.
he would be playing with that, off of that. I think now he's got a little Xbox Series S that he uses instead because it's a little simpler. But if you're someone like that and you want the very best visuals you can get with the very best performance, and you're mobile, yeah, get a cheap laptop and a good internet connection. You can run GeForce Now in those situations, but I just don't see as many people actually hitting that cap that then it appears that just on the outside looking in that is the case.
Mhm.
What are your
Yeah.
thoughts on it?
Actually, I agree 100%. 100, like, some people don't even like playing a game for 100 hours in
Hmm.
in a week, let alone in a month. So, and you're talking about, this isn't it's not like the optimal way of playing the game. It's like more of a supplementary way to play a game when you're not available to play those same games that you have on the rig that you have at home. So I think 100 hours, like, I guess it's like when for a lot of people, when they think of just time, it's like people don't like time limits. It's like you put time on something, it feels like if you're not using it, you're wasting it. And I understand that, but most people, like you said, like the only time you really use GeForce Now is, like I said, when you're sitting on the beach somewhere and you just want to play a game. And that's kind of your outlet or something like that. Other than that, you're playing natively on your console, or you're playing it on your PC or something. So most people are not even going to come close. Like, I would say a good 80 to 90% of people aren't going to come nowhere near close to 100 hours. Now, some months will vary depending on what the games and stuff are. If there's a game and you just happen to be away from your primary entertainment for quite a bit of time, I can see some people clipping up on that 100 hours every once in a while, but it's going to take a special game that makes you want to play it all the time to get to that. And like I
Right.
said, most people don't even want to play a game that's more than 40 hours long. So what makes you think they're going to put 100 hours in a month and just streaming in general? So I think this is a very generous amount that they're giving, especially if you put it up towards the point that they're not charging you extra, because trust me, they could have charged you extra and got away with it that way too. They could have kept it the same way and just said we're raising the price of GeForce Now by $5 a month, depending on what tier you're on. And guess what?
Uh,
People would
It,
the
it,
people
it could also be that things are going so great that
you
they're
see
that demand is outstripping supply, and they need to put limits to allow other people
people
to
to
get
get
on.
into it.
Yeah, and so
Yeah, that's
you
true.
know,
That's true
if
too.
if you got a small select few that are hogging all the 4080 access because they playing 500 plus hours.
Hmm.
All right, we know we the best game in town for this. We gonna limit you to 100. You, I mean, you ain't going nowhere. Where
No,
you gonna
you're right.
go? Where you gonna go to XCloud? It's just like and play at barely 1080p and 60 FPS.
Hmm.
When with us, you getting 4K. It's it's a no brainer, and so I get it, but it's not good. Again, it's not good for the consumer. Anytime, and I said this about like Xbox, like Game Pass, when they raise the price of Game Pass, or when they raise the price of PS Now, not PS Now, PS Plus. Like when
Hmm.
they did those things, and there was zero benefit to the consumer for it. They didn't give you anything extra. You didn't get any extra access or a new feature of the service. It was exactly like it was before they raised the price, and they just raised the price.
Right.
And that's always a negative to me, no matter how big a deal it is or how much the price goes up. Anytime my price is worse than it was before with no additional benefit, I got a problem. But
Right.
I'm also realistic. I probably I wonder if they have the statistics to show you so that you could. I mean, I know they got these stats, Nvidia, but I wonder if they allow you the option to see them as well, to see how much time that you're putting in on the service on a monthly basis.
Right.
And if you're not even approaching like over 50, then this is a big nothing burger for you, because
Hmm.
it's not nothing has changed for you. Technically, nothing has changed. You still have access to the same games, the same level of quality. They didn't take your quality away. They didn't throttle your bandwidth, or anything like that to prevent you from enjoying the experience more for not paying more. They just put a cap that you may or may not even be reaching. So
Right.
that's what it is.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree. All right. Once again, appreciate everybody here. Let's get into this rapid fires. Just a couple of smaller topics that we could talk about real quick before we get to the big one. Let's talk about Take Two. They sold off the private division publishing label for an undisclosed buyer. Slomo, who do you
Mhm.
think the buyer is?
I have no idea. I suspect it's probably another smaller publishing house. Maybe like I'm not saying it is them, but someone of the size of like Devolver Digital might, maybe. But I don't know, man. I know it's not one of the platform holders. Like it's not like Xbox, Nintendo, Sony. Um, I think if that was the case, we would have known this by now. If that one of them actually acquired private division, but I have enjoyed their games.
Hmm.
They don't make anything specifically themselves, but they work with a number of quality developers out there, typically on the AA side of things. But they release games that are AA, but then can kind of have a look of AAA sometimes, and they're a good publishing studio that works with independent under Take Two worked with independent AA studios. But
Wasn't Outer Worlds under Private
yes,
Division too? Yeah, that's
yes,
what I thought.
yep,
Yeah.
that was under Private Division. So was no, I almost said a game that wasn't under there, but Risk of Rain. No, that's Gearbox. Um, they've had a good number of ones out there. Brian East in the chat says my money is on Tencent. That likely is something that would make a lot of sense if it was Tencent or NetEase. One of the two. They seem to love to throw their money around in these kind of situations. It's just unfortunate that Private Division wasn't making money, and that's why Take-Two made the decision that they made. But at least the company is still
A company.
operational, a
Right.
company, and they're still being able to deliver on quality titles in the future. So that's all that's really important there. People still keep their jobs, and we still, as gamers, are going to be able to enjoy whatever that they were publishing or working out on, going to put out in the future. Yeah, who do you think? Who do you think it is?
Oh man, I was thinking the same thing. Tencent could be it. We already know. What's the other one that's opposite Tencent that bought up everything that is literally going through financial hell right
Oh,
now?
Embracer.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Embracer. We know
I
that's
don't think.
definitely not
Yeah,
Embracer.
yeah, no.
they,
This
they,
was
they.
3 years ago. Embracer would have jumped on it, but
Yeah,
now, yeah,
exactly.
they ain't got the money.
Yeah, I would put money on Tencent, but outside of that, if it is anybody else, it's going to be somebody smaller, and you'll hear about that when Private Divisions announces probably the next game or something like that. I just thought it interesting. Yeah, like you said, they weren't making money, and I was trying to think, well, why would 2K just let them go, like sell them off? But at this point, it's like probably a blessing because in the era that we are right now, companies are just shuttering.
Yep, yep. And they actually shut down 2 other studios that I didn't even know they owned, but they
Yeah.
shut them down, and Strauss
Oh,
denied it until
yeah.
recently.
He did deny
Uh,
it recently. He was like, "Yeah, I don't know what y'all talking about."
Yeah, that I actually read that interview with I think Video Game Chronicles did the interview, or maybe
Hmm.
it was yeah, I think it was Video Game Chronicles, but interesting interview. Strauss is a very odd cat, I would say.
Hmm.
Some of his answers just seemed like very PR centric answers to
Yeah.
questions that he just didn't want to get into. But next year does shape up to be a big year for them. Not just because GTA 6 is supposed to come out, which he kind of confirmed that was still the case unofficially by not pushing back on everyone saying, well, the interviewer mentioning it as a game that's releasing next year. So he did. There was no pushback from him. It looks like that's still the case. But they also got Borderlands 4 coming out. They got a new Mafia game coming out. Of course, they got another NBA 2K coming out, and then in addition to that, GTA 6. And something that Strauss said that they wouldn't be doing is kind of releasing these games on top of each other, which they end up cannibalizing their own sales. And that I wish some other people would uh, realize that's what happens when you do that. But it looks like they're going to try to spread out those 4 releases throughout the year, and that's good.
Yeah. All right, next one. Final Fantasy producer Yoshida has said that Square Enix plans to release games simultaneously on Xbox going forward. My question is the third Final Fantasy remake game going to be a part of that?
I think eventually you will get that game on Xbox. When it occurs, I have no idea.
I think they're just going to wait until the whole thing is out. Then Xbox is just going to get the trilogy. That's
That
when it's
might
going to
be
happen.
the smart move to kind of just release it all together once the last one drops in another 3 years. But I think anything outside of that is just going to be on Xbox as well. Like I think they look at Sega and they see how Sega's biggest IPs are doing so well, and they have been doing that by putting their games everywhere, especially
Everywhere.
PC. You know, and that is, I think that's where I think Square is very much like publicly they're like, yeah, you know, we're down with Xbox. We're gonna put, you know, you had Sarah, Phil come out, you know, talk to him, you know, schmooze them up a little bit. Yeah,
Hmm.
publicly they talking big on, you know, yeah, we definitely making sure it's gonna be out there on Xbox. What they really care about is PC though.
Yeah, really care about his PC. I
And
really,
those games don't, you know, they're missing out on sales. And I think there is a definitely a problem with the interest in a game waning the longer its port to PC takes to come out. And so they kind of getting close to simultaneous releases would be better for them, and I think sales wise in the long run. JC in the chat says, a horrible idea. They have had a hard enough time optimizing their games for just one platform. That's something they got to work on their development pipeline, and
yeah,
that's something that is just is what it is. You know, for Final Fantasy 16 to release and when I say perform, I'm not talking about sales, but performance wise on PlayStation to drop down to a starting target of 720p before upscaling, um, to have an implementation that wasn't very good because it's kind of blurry in combat, and but still and all that to just to maintain 60 frames per second, and then for it to take as long as it did to come out on PC, which was like another year, only for it to be really unoptimized on PC. Like they you know, believe it or not, they at one point in time they had Nixus. Nixus
yeah,
was a support studio for them. They known them, but they had them in the tuck. And Nixus was the ones that are making amazing ports for their games to the PC. They lost them. They need to work with someone who is on that level. And I think support studios, a studio that does remasters or ports again. They're not like on the same level of creativity as one of your main studios. But that said, like they're good. You can find some studios out there that are good enough to get these kind of port works done for you, and they gotta find somebody to replace Nixus because the way they're doing it now, it's not good. It's the quality isn't quite there, and so they gotta do better.
right. I agree, 100%. And, yo, the only thing I'll add to that is I want to see them get to the point, especially if the new Nintendo system is going to be powerful enough. I want to get to the point where Final Fantasy is back on a Nintendo platform, because I think those type of games really would work
I don't
really
think
well over there.
they are kind of pushing the envelope, and I
They
think
are. It's why I just that's why I say I hope it's strong enough. But if it's not going to happen because
yeah,
it's
I
just
mean like
those are the
well,
type of games that will work over there really well.
Rebirth is using Unreal Engine 4, and it really needs to be a better game engine than
Yeah, that's true.
than 4. There's just so many limitations, and you see them with Rebirth on a technical scale. Final Fantasy 16 is the same. It's a proprietary Square Enix engine that they also use in Final Fantasy 14,
Yeah.
and it's just, you know, performance wise, it just wasn't there. And this is with them doing basically the game solely on one platform. And then maybe before the game releases, they start on that port, whether they're doing it internally or whether they're working with someone else. It's just like that pipeline. And it's not, if you're going to go towards, not if they are, if you're going to multi platform releases day and date everywhere, you're going to need to kind of change up how you do things in order to make sure that it doesn't adversely affect every platform you're releasing your games on now.
Right. No, that makes sense. All right, last rapid fire two-parter. Kojima is now the sole owner of Death Stranding now. And on top of that, Xbox gamers woke up to a huge surprise that not only is Death Stranding available on Xbox now, it's also available on Windows PC and a 50% sale. Now,
Still too much money.
Still too much money, because I was like, okay, what is this 50% off? Is 50% off 60? It was actually 50% off of $39.99. So the game's only $20. And we had a conversation today earlier.
I would rather spend $20 on something else to spend $20 on that boring game. I am falling asleep even thinking about Death Stranding.
I'd rather pay $20 to ship something to somebody and not even think about it anymore than buy this game at $20.
They need to pay me $20 to play Death Stranding.
Right. So, first part of it, Kojima, sole possession and owner of the Death Stranding franchise moving forward. What are your thoughts on that part? Then we'll talk about, the impact of this game finally coming over to Xbox, and it's also on the PC app on Xbox too.
Give me a second.
No, go
ahead. I need to let Glacy in the chat know. He said maybe Slow-Mo will beat it now, and I said maybe not in this lifetime. Okay, I put 2.5 hours into that game. You can check my Steam account. People think I haven't played it. I have played it. It's mid. That's why I talk about the game the way I do. And I also partially talk about the game the way I do because people be glazing Kojima. I mean, all kinds of glazing on Kojima, and he's a bit overrated. Like, this game's not that good, and sure, everyone has their personal opinions. There are people who love the game, and I'm not telling you not to love game. We all love a little mid every now and then. You know what I'm saying? People play mid games every day, B. You know what I'm saying? Like it is what it is. It's okay to enjoy some mid. I enjoy Bleeding Age and Concord. You like mid, you like Kojima's most middest of games ever. You like Death Stranding. That's fine. But yeah, I ain't playing that. It's good that it's on Xbox though. It's good that it's on, like, they own the IP now. I do think behind the scenes, probably what's going on is that I kind of feel like maybe this Death Stranding 2 is the last one.
Mm-hmm.
And Sony didn't see the need to own this any further. They probably still retain some kind of timed exclusivity for Death Stranding 2. And so them selling the IP, or maybe it reverted. Maybe there was always a ownership or a temporary license for the IP for a certain period of time. For example, like with Alan Wake, I think it was. Microsoft had publishing rights for it, or maybe they had partial ownership or they owned it. I can't remember, but they just let it lapse. Right. And then Remedy, and then it reverted back to Remedy. And maybe that's the case here. Sony just let it lapse and reverted back to Kojima. But I also kind of feel for it to be shadow dropped today the way it was. And I saw some people on Twitter, Elon's Devil's Playground. I saw some people on there insinuating that this is, and I didn't check up on this, but this is around the time period that the original game released on PlayStation 4. So maybe there was a timed exclusive clause that kept it off Xbox for 5 years or so, or something to that effect. So maybe they had the game ready for a while, but couldn't talk about it, couldn't release it, couldn't market it, couldn't do anything until the day that deal was finally up. And so, who knows? But like I said, it's even though I think the game's overrated, like its creator, I'm glad people are able to play it. And shout out to the people
It's
on
funny.
Twitter who called it a glorified FedEx simulator, who called it boring, which I believe all those things are true. But then when they saw that it was out on Xbox, they was like, "Oh, cop, baby! Oh, I love that price. That's a perfect price. I can't wait to play." What?
Man, it was out. They was out here. They
Like
was out here.
I know that ain't who I think it is. It's like you was killing that game for years. Shows up on the Xbox. Oh, it's actually pretty decent. $20. That's a steal. I can't wait to play it. Okay, hypocrite.
Okay.
what, whatever you say, buddy. Whatever you say. I see you for who you are, and I'm not surprised because this ain't the first time.
I'm
So
happy. I'm happy that they're happy and they want
yeah.
to play the game. I mean, listen, it's a game. People are gonna, it's always been a divisive game when it comes to like people that like care about it and like it and love it. Like I just no, like the whole delivery system thing is just something I just really can't like. No, like I said in the Discord, I was like, in the DMs. I was like, every time I see this game, I feel like my FedEx driver when he drops off 25 packages. That's how I feel. I feel deflated. When my FedEx driver comes in with more than 10 boxes, I feel deflated. And that's how that game makes me feel when I look at it. It could be a great game. I'm just never gonna play it because
Yeah. Yeah. And look, I played it visually beautiful.
great, amazing.
Decima Engine is one of the best game engines out there. Way better than Unreal. Way better than Unreal. For those who think Unreal is the bee's knees, it's not.
No, yeah,
Nearly every
Decima.
proprietary engine that's out there is better. You showing gameplay on the Jumbotron of a Frostbite game. And we all know Frostbite sucks, but guess what's not in this game? Traversal stutter. The animation stutter. Because it's
Yeah.
not Unreal. But Decima Engine is fantastic. A very, very good game engine. Probably the best thing that Gorilla has ever done. Considering, Horizon's boring. But game engine, fantastic. And that fantastic game engine is on full display in Death Stranding. I thought the music as well, when I was running packages, across New Zealand, aka the Midwest of the United
The
States.
Midwest of the United States.
I'm like, how is this America? This looks
America.
like there is zero geography in America that looks like in this entire big country. Zero geography in America that looks like this. Like
Oh man.
clearly made by a Japanese studio, right? Anyway,
Yeah, it's cool.
it's
Well,
it's the music when you're traveling is very good. Which rest in peace to the
it,
composer of that. I think the composer for the Death Stranding passed away recently. So
yeah.
rest in peace to him. But I that's just something I noticed. Just a real quick tangent that Japanese developers tend to just kind of imagine when they have a game that's focused in America, they just be like just winging it on the environment.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, this is Kansas.
This is
Kansas is like
Kansas.
Kansas has like is
This is
there.
Kentucky, the
They
Prairie
don't even
View.
have ant hills in Kansas. There is no deviation in the elevation in Kansas, and you got these Rocky Mountains and stuff. What the frick are you talking about, bro? This is the United States. But then you'll see like something like the Division, where when they did the Division One, it's not 1-to-1 because it's hard to have like an entire city of New York in a game. It's a
In
you
the
know
game,
it's
yeah.
but the portion of New York they put in there is accurate. The
Yeah.
portion of Washington D.C. they put in the Division Two, accurate. Ninja Theory went out. The freaking what country is that? Whatever country that they have Hellblade 2 in. I can't remember the name of the country. They went there. They took pictures. They scaled all that stuff and put it in the game, and it looked like it. It looks like it. It's supposed to look like it. And they didn't just say, "Hey, look, use your imagination." This is Arizona, and it's like ice everywhere. Like, no.
This is Greenland, but it's supposed to be ice here, but it's actually green.
Right. It's just like, no. That's not what that is.
Did you?
Imagine how angry they would be if an American studio said, yeah, this takes place in Tokyo. And
It, it,
don't-
it, it- but
it don't
but
even
to-
look like it looks like Tallahassee, Florida. Like, they be mad as all get out. Like, that's how I feel when they do stuff like that. I'll be like, what are you talking about, bro? This is not it.
before we get to our last topic, that you brought up Greenland and in Iceland and stuff like that. We talked about that. Let me ask you a question about have you ever thought about how Greenland is called Greenland, but it's ice, and
Yeah.
Iceland is called Iceland,
But it's beautiful.
but it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Like, I always like when I hear like the first time I ever heard about Greenland, I was like, oh, that must be a nice place. Just must be lush and green everywhere, and it's a freaking popsicle. But then you get green. Then you go to Iceland. And I'm like, yo, there's tropical forest. It's like a rainforest there. It's not a lick of ice anywhere. I'm like, what is up with that? What do you think is up with that, SloMo?
I don't know, man. I used
You
to,
probably
I,
look,
as
you
a
look,
kid,
you
as
looking
a
at
kid, I was
pictures.
like, as a kid, I was dumbfounded by it. I was just like,
What?
wait a minute. So why do they call it Greenland? Why do they call it Iceland? But there's no,
There's
they
no
could-
ice.
yeah, as a kid. But now I'm just like, whatever.
It's whatever, right? You just accept that green is like the two opposites met each other and switch names.
Yeah, I gotta go to Iceland one day.
Yeah, I do too. I'm not gonna lie about that. So, final topic. Oh, and speaking of which, once we hit, rapid fire, I really like that. Go through a lot of the smaller topics real quick. Once we hit memberships and stuff and we start getting people in, I want to implement, and this is another good reason for you guys to help us get to 500 subs so we can implement stuff like this. I want to start taking some submissions from, like pretty much how Luca does on Scumcast during rapid fire. We can have like one or two topics that you guys want us to go over really quick before we get into the final topic. So that's another reason for you guys to be a part of the show. And another reason for you guys to help us get to 500 so we can start implementing the things to make this show even better than it is now. But with that being said, SloMo, let's talk about PlayStation. And let's talk about the system that neither one of us have, but we have a lot of opinions about. So with PlayStation 5 Pro released today, a lot of excitement. I talked about it during my part earlier where just it was really, really cool to see gamers being gamers and actually being excited for something that's not the norm. That was really exciting to be a part of and see. But we also had a lot of back and forth when it came to like the reviews came out earlier this week. People talking about how people are saying how it's a great system, but then the price is overhyped and stuff like that. It was like a lot of give and take, like a lot of, we like it, but these are things we don't like about it. But then we got people giving it scores. We have gamers out there talking about how it's better than mid-range PCs. We have content creators going out there making mid-range PCs that match the price of it, and they're going to give us videos later on with their findings on once they find out what the performance of a PS5 Pro versus a mid-range PC around that same price looks. So this system is not without controversy. and we're going to talk about a lot of it here. So, Slomo, where do you want to start with this? Because there is so much that we could talk about. We could talk about the performance. We could talk about how, people don't understand what testing looks like when you're talking about testing a game because they think you're going to take those cake cuts out there, cake cuts, those cupcakes out there and test those, but they don't think that we should be testing the games that everybody were having problems with running over the course of the last couple of years to see if the pro can actually make them better. So, where do you want to start with this, bro?
I mean, that will get tested. You can you can give review units to people, and and we see certain people out there, influencers, that their entire interactions with the gaming community is to always hype stuff up. They're like an extension of marketing. They never have anything negative to say about any games. And I'm not talking specifically about one person. I'm talking about a group of people, and you know who they are. And that's their hustle. That's what they do. You'll never know how they truly feel about something. They're not ever really critical of anything, and they get it at that kind of access because that's what the company is looking for. I'm not going after Sony because Sony's not the only one that does that. Everyone goes to these people because they have a big platform. They got a lot of people that follow them, and they're going to say whatever you want them to say. If you want them to focus on a specific number of games, they're going to do that. They're going to talk about that, even if their review doesn't show you anything or doesn't really provide a lot of data there. And and then of course you'll get like your digital foundries. They got a review copy, and they're going to do their testing. But then they're not going to go give a review copy to Gamer Nexus. Now, after Gamer Nexus, when they got their hands on the PS5, tore it apart, rebuilt it, put sensors inside it to test the cooling, and said, "Oh, this module over here is overheating. You're going to have a heating issue." And they said, "No, we're not. Shut up." And then 2 years later, they were
right.
redesigned the PS5. So, they don't want you to see that kind of stuff. And so it's different. Whereas for example, AMD just dropped the 9800 X3D, which is a fantastic CPU, and it's amazing. And it's such an amazing CPU that it is head and shoulders, double-digit percentages better on average than Intel's fastest CPU. AMD is so proud of that thing, they gave it to everybody.
They gave it to everybody, yeah.
You want a review copy? Here you go. Here's 5 of them. Bam, 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 bam. We want everyone to know this is the bomb diggity. It is the best CPU on the market. Why? Because it is.
It is.
And we know it is. And we want you to know it is. So you go spend that $400 or $500 for the CPU in addition to whatever, motherboard that you're going to have to spend that's going to be compatible with it. Because that's how strong we feel about it. When Sony knows that some of these tech tubers are going to build PCs that are, comparable, whether they are the same price or not, and then test them, they're not giving you that. Go ahead and pre-order that PS5 Pro yourself. Spend your own money. If you going to tear our product down, you going to pay us for it. We ain't giving you a review copy to make my product look bad. And I get it. Why would I pay? It's you get it. You're going to try to protect what you work for, what you worked on, but eventually they will get the product. And eventually, they're going to test it. And so I say all that to say that, we're seeing some games that are not older titles that are not maintaining 60 frames per second. We've seen, we're seeing people out here, and I ain't naming no names, but capping for particular games and saying, "Oh, it's doing this with ray tracing and it's staying at 60 FPS." But what are the graphical settings at? You know, like
Mm,
what were the sacrifices to make it that? You know what they are. Like, come on now,
mm,
you know. So it's just, and I'm not saying it's a bad
mm.
console because it's not. It's not a bad console. You know,
Right.
it in value is always subjective. And I said this when we first discussed it. I think Game Logic was on about like the Pro and whether it's worth it or not, and it's worth it to people who are have PlayStation as their primary platform. If you're the kind of person that you play all your games on PlayStation
Mhm.
and you were disappointed in the performance mode of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and why not? Because it was a blurry mess. And you were disappointed in the performance of Final Fantasy 16. Um, Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth on PS5 Pro is a significant improvement. 16, I don't think it's that big of an improvement on Final Fantasy 16. But if you want to make a marginal upgrade to get better performance, and matter of fact, I'm gonna have to big up us. I'm gonna have to big up us, Forte,
Go
because
ahead.
we were the very few people that pointed out when everyone was touting that whole it's a 45% increase in GPU. It's a
Mhm.
45% increase in GPU. No, it's not. It
No, it's
says
not.
up to
Yep, up to.
45%. We've been said that. We said that when they first showed the trailer. It told you it was up to, but y'all listened to the cappers who said
Mhm.
45% flat. Oh, let me go find a PC GPU that's 45%. Oh, it's comparable to this. Oh, it's got new ray tracing features that I haven't even seen yet before, but I'm gonna pretend like I have, like I do every time an AMD product comes out, and I still be wrong every single time, but I'm gonna pretend like I'm not. And then I'm gonna go tell you, oh, it's on the same level as a 4070. What happened? It's not. And I'm bringing this up now so that people don't go, "Hey, slow mo, why you interjecting yourself in the conversation?" Because you dummios keep interjecting yourself in the PC conversation. Every single time hardware comes out on consoles, every single freaking time, you dummios can't help yourself. You dum dums can't help yourself. You have to go compare it to a PC. Oh, you can't do this with a 4090. No, stupid. You can do that with a 4090 and then some.
Mm.
You can't. How come you can't see this? You can't do. All y'all care about is resolution.
Yep.
Oh, it tells me you don't play anything on PC. You don't know how to optimize your own settings. You don't know how to test your own frame rates. You listen to everything Digital Foundry gotta tell you. That's the only way you can tell the difference between something being at 45 frames per second and 60, because Digital Foundry told me. I can tell myself what my own damn frame rates are. You don't know how to
Mhm.
do that. You can't change your texture quality or the quality of the water in the game. Because you're not on PC. And for some of y'all, that's fine. And I'm not talking about y'all. I'm talking about the guys that sat on Twitter and podcasts and capped and ran their mouth about stuff they didn't understand for hours upon hours, way more hours than they actually do playing any damn games. I'm talking about them losers who do this every single time hardware comes out. And it don't matter if it's an Xbox coming out or a PlayStation coming out. You idiots seem to always bring up PC, and then when PC gamers correct you, you go, "Why y'all keep interjecting yourself in console conversation? I don't understand. Why y'all keep injecting yourself like your dumbass didn't actually know who started it." Stop being stupid. Stop bringing up PC.
Mm.
If you stop being stupid, PC gamers will stop laughing at you and correcting you. If you stop being stupid, you won't look stupid when the hardware comes out. We told y'all this was going to happen. When the hardware comes out and it gets compared, it will not perform the same. We told y'all this. And y'all couldn't stop glazing Sony long enough to do some common freaking sense. And I'm cool with y'all for the most part. Y'all know that. But I gotta bring y'all the task when y'all do stuff like this. Like, it just is what it is. Because they, like, especially for some of these guys that got big platforms.
Mm-hmm.
And you got people, y'all know how this is. Anyone that has a platform, there are a segment of people that will not take what you say as gospel, not take what you say for face value, and they'll do their own research. They may enjoy your content because you inform them of things, and after a while, they may trust you after hearing you multiple times say things, and you not over exaggerate it or flat out lie or tell a half truth, and they say, all right, this person is trustworthy enough, like Marquise Brownlee. Whenever he does his reviews, I've watched enough of his reviews, I've watched enough of his content, that whenever he says he does a review and does something, I know for a fact whatever product he's talking about, whatever new phone, whatever new device, he's not lying, he's not capping. He has created a resume and banked enough goodwill with me that I can trust whatever he has to say. And even then, sometimes I'll fact check him, just because we all make mistakes. We're all human. Steve from Gamers Nexus, I think he's a little overzealous sometimes in wanting to kind of humble companies, but he does so. He's not doing that with faulty information. He makes sure that even though he's overzealous and going after companies, he makes sure that he's going after them with something that's accurate. He's not going after them with some BS. And so even when Gamer Nexus goes in on someone, I generally think that the information here is accurate.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not everyone. And there's a lot of people out there that they like your content and they just take whatever you say for face value. You could be making up the most illogical, not even remotely accurate stuff, and they're going to be like, hey, repeating it verbatim on other social media websites and other social media platforms. That misinformation is from you, and some of y'all know it. You're spreading misinformation, and you don't care. It's fun to you. It's a game to make people look stupid, all for the sake of console warring and platform warring. Y'all got no problem making your followers look dumb, repeating stuff that's not true.
Yes,
and y'all should know better.
they should, but who's to say they're going to learn? The biggest thing for me is just, it's like, even when you try to just allow people to buy what they want to buy and spend the money how they want to spend it, it's like they always have to try to tell you why their thing is so much better. And granted, everybody does that to an extent.
Mm-hmm.
But when you go out and you try to fabricate information and try to convince people that one thing is one thing and this is something completely different, is just that's what I just don't like. The fact that, listen, if you want to go out, like I told everybody the only way I would probably buy a PS5 Pro depends on Grand Theft Auto. I think that thing's going to run at 30 frames per second. And if it is going to run at 30 frames per second, I'm going to wait.
Positive.
It's going to run at 30 frames per second.
It's going to run at 30 frames. The only way it's not running at 30 frames per second is if that was prioritized by Rockstar early in game development, that they would have a performance mode. And it will be a performance mode on the Xbox Series X as well.
Right.
That's the only that they made. If it and the base PS5, to be clear. Like, that's the only way it's going to have a performance mode and run at 60 FPS. Because if it wasn't prioritized ahead of time, they're not going to have one specifically for the PS5 Pro. That CPU is just not strong enough to maintain that. And from what we're seeing, of course, very little, but based upon how we understand Rockstar's history and from what we saw of that trailer, if the game looks anything like that trailer that they showed us, that's not running at 60. Like, you got to be out of your mind to think that will run at 60 on a console.
But
and to be clear, because I don't want people to clip what I said earlier and be like, oh, slow-mo going in on us. Like, no, I mean, I did kind of go in, so whatever. But like, I'm not telling people don't enjoy your PS5 Pro. I always say, enjoy that thing. You spent your money on it. That's your money. And if you feel it's a value to you, I in no way, shape, or form can I tell you it's not. That's not what I'm doing. I am not that guy that's like, oh, you wasted your money. No. Your money is your money. 0 people have the authority to tell you what was a waste of your money. If you find it to be of value, enjoy it. If you are having a great time playing the games that you owned with better fidelity, with typically what they've been trying to market it as the quality mode and performance mode merged together, then look, and if it's doing that for you, fantastic. If I think I've seen some racing games that look look significantly better and perform better. Great. If you play those games, awesome. Enjoy. Everything that there's like 50 titles that have been updated for modes that will work with PS5 Pro. To varying degrees of quality, but if you're enjoying it, I'm glad you're enjoying it. You're playing games, you're having a good time. I am not going to be here telling you, oh, you're wrong to enjoy that. Like that meme where the people are having fun and some guy comes over and says, stop having fun. Like, no, that guy's a loser. He needs help. He needs to have some fun himself. And that ain't me. So enjoy your PS5 Pros. I'm just saying that when it comes to this discussion and y'all like having the need to exaggerate the importance of something or what it does, it's like the misinformation y'all send to people is irresponsible. If someone, and some of y'all do it because you actually want to prevent people from leaving the PlayStation platform and going to PC. And frankly, that ain't your responsibility, nor is it your like, in no way, shape, or form should you be trying to influence where people play their games.
Right.
If someone wants to make that jump to PC because they want that level of performance and they understand the implications of that, that means that, you're going to have to do a little bit more troubleshooting here or there. That means that you're going to have to do a little bit more research on how PCs work. You're going to need to have an understanding of what CPUs are, know what RAM is, and how it's not VRAM.
Not VRAM, right?
And actually do the research. Even if you're just going to get it pre-built, you should understand all these things because not all pre-builts are created equal. A lot of them suck. And so, I always prefer to build your own PC because then you get to learn how it works when you build it. But like, if someone wants to do that, like lying to them to say a PS5 Pro is just as good as like a 4080 or a 4090 or even a 4070 is irresponsible. Don't lie to them and say it's just as good when it's not. PSSR has confirmed by Digital Foundry instability in the image that even FSR doesn't have, even though in a lot of ways it's better than FSR 3.1, but it's not better than DLSS, which 89% of the market, the PC gamers, have an NVIDIA GPU. So it's It's funny,
What?
and then there's the other thing real quick
No,
where
go ahead.
they'll be like, well, the PS5 Pro is better than the most commonly used PC parts. Okay, and the most common PC game is not even in this discussion. So why are you bringing them up? Them dudes playing CS:GO, World of Warcraft, and Valorant, and they don't know you exist or this
Yeah,
conversation. The
or this
people you
conversation.
talking to own 4090s, so your point is irrelevant to them. Why are you
I
bringing it up?
I was
This is
literally
funny.
talking I was literally talking to a customer today. And he was buying a PS5 Pro, but he's one of those people like, listen, I got the money. I want to have the best experience for PlayStation games because they don't release their games first party day and date. And I was like, oh, I get it. But he was like, bro, I got a 4090, and if I was patient, I would wait. And I was like, bro, how does it feel to be able to turn on your PC, go to any game, and just hit max settings on everything and basically just play? He was like, "Oh, it's the greatest thing in the world."
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
just turn it on and just go max settings, and you don't have to worry about. But that's
yeah.
a
And
problem
and
for
and and,
high
and
end
also to be
PC.
clear, like I'm not ishing on PSSR. PSSR, Sony one, and I said this back when they announced it. I was like, it's clearly going to be better than FSR, or would be head and shoulders better than FSR eventually because they released it. They already have
Yeah,
access to FSR. If it's not going to be better, why are you even making it? So clearly they knew they could do better than AMD did.
yeah,
And even though it's likely using some, I do believe AMD is also going to be doing AI machine learned upscaling the way DLSS has been. But something to acknowledge about what Sony did here is they created a 1.0 version of an upscaler that's better than in equivalent to where DLSS was. DLSS 1.0, and to be fair to the Nvidia, they were the first ones doing it, so they had a lot more to learn than everyone else. Everyone else has learned from Nvidia's, missteps, taking the wrong turn, reaching dead ends, having to go back and fix things and make it better. Everyone else has learned from Nvidia because they were the innovator of it, and they are the innovators, period, whether people like it or not. Everything that we see graphically is being started by Nvidia, and everyone else follows suit with their own version of it. That said, PSSR 1.0 is better than DLSS 1.0, way better than FSR 1.0, better than XESS, Intel's upscaler XESS 1.0. And so they are starting at a good point, and hopefully they continue on from there, improving it and making it better. But it ain't better like people ignore the clip from Digital Foundry where they said that image stability is worse than all the other PC upscalers. Like, that's something that has to be improved, and that can be improved in 2.0 or even like a 1.3 or whatever new versions they update PSSR with. And we'll see that over time. They'll be tested. You'll see the image quality. You'll see the testings. You'll see it will get better, and this is going to be great for PlayStation gamers, because I do believe it's true what Nvidia said about the better image quality enhancements coming from AI and upscalers like this than strictly just having better hardware. You're going to need these kind of things to kind of like bridge that gap and kind of reach heights that we haven't that we aren't currently reaching at the same like degrees in different graphical generations as we once were in the past. You're going to need this, and so that's great for PlayStation gamers. And I think it's also the reason why Xbox is working on their own thing, because you don't want to be left behind. When PlayStation got their own proprietary upscaler and it's improving, significantly over time, you don't want to be relying on AMD. No, take that into your own hands. Make your own thing. Don't rely on someone who's got the worst upscaler. Like that's not what you want to do. So just no, look, It's a good product. And again, the price thing, that's subjective. Is it worth it to you? We're cool. Go ahead and trade in your PS5. Like Forte, you mentioned, today someone traded in an Xbox Series X, a PS5, and all they had left was like $100 or some dollars to spend on the PS5 Pro. People do this all the time.
All the time.
So you can make it work if you want it. That's fine. Just understand what the product is and
Yeah.
understand the limitations of the product. Don't get mad when people correct you when you out here capping for things.
So what are we thinking when it comes to people saying that the PS5 Pro is more powerful than the majority of people that play PC games on Steam?
Again, that goes back to what I'm saying about like who are you having this conversation with? Because the
Mhm.
people who are you're having that conversation with, you're talking about you looking at a Steam survey, which is not everyone. Like in the most recent Steam survey, they actually hit me with the notification. I turned on Steam. It was like, hey, would you like to be a part of the survey? I said, bet. Go ahead and scan my machine, add me in there. So I'm in the most recent Steam survey. You don't know the last time they had me in the Steam survey, Forte? It was about 3 years ago. So you're getting a snapshot of what the Steam community is. You're not getting everybody, and that
Right.
is intentional. And that's it. The people who are on that Steam survey are not the people that these guys are having conversations with. So when they have these little arguments and debates, and they're just like, oh, hey, look at the Steam survey. Oh, look at this. The most common GPU right now is the 3060. Well, this is more powerful than the 3060. I'm like, well, what's that got to do with me? I have a 4080 Super.
Mhm.
Where the most common CPUs are what now? Okay, what's that got to do with me? I got an i7 13700K.
Mhm.
I got 64 gigs of RAM. I got faster storage than your PS5. So what does any of that have to do with me? When I talk about like, and then if I'm talking about not even my PC, just talking in general about saying I don't even own a 4070, but I'm telling you when you're making comparisons to a 4070 that don't make sense because it's not on the level of a 4070, don't start saying, oh, well, it's better than your PC. You don't even know what my PC is, stupid. So you're just jumping out there with no information and looking foolish. It's just this is the kind of like discourse that I see, and that argument doesn't make any sense. It's a very basic, lazy argument from people who are just they heard it from someone else and they're just repeating it. But that person was using a lazy, basic argument too. So now you look even lazier taking their lazy argument. Steam
Mm.
surveys, when using Steam surveys to say what's better than the majority of people who are on this Steam survey, when you don't know the games they play, they could be playing that banana game.
Let me
They
ask me.
could be playing
Mhm.
Among Us. They don't even care to play the kind of games that you play, and they're not those people aren't even in this conversation. So why bother? Because it's not like you're really comparing saying someone who's going to be playing The Last of Us Part 1 on PC on hardware that's worse than the PS5 Pro. You're not talking to that guy. That guy is benchmarking The Last of Us Part 1 and then playing through the game with a 4090. They're different people, they're different demographics.
Let me ask you this, Slomo.
Yeah.
How many monitors can a PS5 Pro output display to?
I'm gonna say one.
All right, so we're gonna use Steam, and this isn't even the whole of Steam, like you said. It's just a
Mm-hmm.
snapshot of it. Primary resolution on Steam is 1920 by 1080, used by 57.32% of the surveyed people. 56% of people surveyed on Steam are running multi-monitor setups at 3840 by 1080 by 1080.
Mm. Shows
So more than
a very different kind of gamer there, right?
right. Yeah. That's multi-monitor users. And if you're
Mm-hmm.
running 3840 by 1080, that means you're running most likely 32-inch monitors
Mm-hmm.
side by side at 1080p to get
Mm-hmm.
enough real estate to even get the horizontal value of what 3080 by 3080 by, well, yeah, 38 by 40 is when it comes to like the height of 4K.
A
So
PC gamer looks at the Steam survey and figures that out just by looking at it.
just by looking at it.
A console gamer who doesn't know anything about PC sees 1080p and then creates a narrative off of that.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're looking at.
That's what we're looking at here, and it's just when I look at that, and then right now the average card is a RTX 3060. So
Yeah, which is
and
a decent card. It's like it's got 12 gigs of VRAM. It's decent for 1080p gaming, and you know if that's the kind of card I put in like my daughter's PC when
right,
I eventually build her PC. She don't need more than that. She used to play Roblox. I don't let her play Roblox no more. But she plays a lot of like kind of like party games like Party Animals, Fall Guys. She don't need nothing that's like super demanding. That's a waste of horsepower to give her something that like won't get tested. My son's PC is barely getting tested. His GPU, I gave him a 6500 XT,
mm-hmm.
which is mostly a 1080p card, but can do some light 1440p gaming at max settings. Max settings is what we're talking about here.
Yeah, max settings.
And he don't even test that thing. Like when he plays, like the more demanding games, and he was going to play the more demanding games because he's in my Steam family, so he's got access to my library. If he at one point he wanted to play Spider-Man, but he never even made it to like deep in the game. He kind of quit. He liked it, but he didn't he doesn't love those kind of games. So he occasionally plays Fortnite, but with his friends. But he doesn't play it often enough to like even get like 25% of the way of a battle pass before the season ends. So it's just there's like if he was going to be playing those games more, I would have went and upgraded his GPU to something like a 4070.
Yeah,
Kind of make sure that he was good to go. But he don't. He don't. When he plays Minecraft and all the stuff, all the other, he plays Roblox. Those games, he don't need more than what he got. He barely using what he got. So it's just there's no need in upgrading them. But like that's the gamer that they're comparing the PS5 Pro to, the people who are making a big deal about these things, not the people who just want to enjoy the PS5 Pro. Let me keep reiterating that because people like to when they're losing, they have loser arguments. They create loser narratives where they try to act like you're talking about somebody else. The people who just care about a PS5 Pro and just want to enjoy it aren't the people I'm talking about. I'm talking about the people who keep making comparisons to PC. Those people, like the, the equivalent of what they're doing is skipping over my PC to then go point at my son's PC and say, "Hey, well, the PS5 Pro is better than that." And it's just like, all right, but my son don't care. It's just like you're not actually proving anything. You're just trying to create an argument for your base to run off on social media with a new narrative with, and it's kind of pointless.
What is the VRAM on the PS5 Pro? Isn't it 16 with 2 dedicated still to the OS? So it's 14 for games and 2 for the
Yeah,
OS?
yes, two for the OS. I think I read somewhere that when they came out with the final aspects, that there was two that the two that was for the OS was separate.
Was separated. It's not part of the so
Yeah,
it might be, is it 16 plus 2 then?
I'm not 100% certain if it's 16 plus 2 or not.
I hope it's 16 plus 2, because if it's 16,
But the problem and the reason why is it's never going to always be that the GPU is 45% faster than the PS5 CPU is that
Mhm.
you have an APU here. And
Yeah,
that
APUs.
APU has limited TDP. It's got limited power, and so it also has to maintain the CPU as well. And so you're sharing resources. And this is why you're never going to get like just straight up 40, like it's up to 45%. Sometimes it will hit 45%, but for the most part, it's going to be in the 30 to 35 range. Blade X says it's 16 plus 2. That's
Oh,
what
so
I thought I
it is
saw.
16
Yeah.
plus 2. That's what I thought.
It,
Okay.
yeah, that's what I thought I saw when they came out with the official specs, but that's good. That's good. Now, the reason what I'm saying is that like you're more commonly going to end up being somewhere in the 30% range faster on the GPU side of things than the original PS5, which is fine because that's a good improvement on that aspect of things. But when the CPU is basically flat and barely better, this is why for games that are going to be CPU intensive, you're not going to get much of an improvement. And a lot of people kind of look at that as like, oh well, there's only a handful of games that are just 30 frames per second on consoles, and that's true. There's not a lot of games that are just 30 FPS. Don't give you another option. That doesn't mean that GTA won't be, because
Right.
you
It
could
won't be.
clearly, GTA could be another one in that handful. But for the games that do have performance mode options and they struggle to maintain those performance modes, you know, why is it struggling to do a solid 60 in performance mode?
Mhm.
More likely it's not because the GPU isn't good enough. Typically on consoles, it's because the CPU is limited and it's bottlenecked, and that bottleneck will still be there with this Pro, unfortunately. But you're going to have improvements. I the reason why I think partially the reason why Final Fantasy VII Rebirth has such an improvement is that it's not CPU bound. It's an Unreal Engine 4 game, and that's why the improvements to the GPU really take effect in like the sharpness of the visual quality and performance mode, and still be able to maintain a very good frame rate. Like this is like you're gonna have your games where the upgrade to the PS5 Pro is worth it. And then you're gonna have your games where it's barely any different than what the PS5 is doing. And it's because, hey, look, it's a console, man.
It's a console.
It's a mid-gen refresh. It's not a new generation. If it was the PlayStation 6 that was barely doing better than PS5 in some games, we have a problem.
Yeah, we
You
have a
know,
problem there.
and I'm not getting into like Elden Ring kind of stuff. 'Cause yeah, Elden Ring on PS4 performs better than on PS5, but that's because From Software sucks at optimization. It's not because of the PS5 hardware or anything like that. That's a developer problem. That's not a hardware problem. It's not a Sony problem. That's devs not being good at optimizing their own games, and people give From Software way too much slack when it comes to that. They're freaking awful at optimizing. Um, Blade says it was doing pretty good on Dragon's Dogma slow. I saw that frame rate looking very up and down, bruh. It wasn't sticking to 60. It was
That's
doing
fine.
better. It was doing better than the PS5, but it wasn't sticking the 60 frames per second like that. So it is what it is. If you in one Dragon's Dogma 2 is an overrated game. And it's not that good. But if you were waiting to play that and now you finally, like, let's say you bought it back when it came out, but you didn't have the time to play it, and now you got yourself a PS5 Pro, Yeah, like it's I beat it, and it's a decent game. It's not as good as people was going to say it was, or how hyped it was when it first came out. But go play through that and enjoy it. Um,
Yeah, it's all over the place, man. The one of the craziest things when I sit back and I think about just how it all works when it comes like it you think about okay, like if you think about the dynamic of PC, like between laptops and desktops, like you'll have a laptop that has a 4080 in it or a 4090 in it, um and it'll be like a max q version of it, and people probably don't understand what max q means, but it's like when you look at the difference in the performance, are you really getting a full 4080 inside of this laptop? No, you're getting a stripped down 4080 that's performing pretty well. It's
yeah,
still
it's
it
really not. It's a 4080 in name, but not in
and
actual
and
performance.
and not an actual performance. It just
Right.
it's stripped down to the point where, like you said, between the make the form factor fit, and it's another thing people don't talk about. If you're talking about graphics cards being better than other like consoles being better than other things, you do realize that these components produce a lot of heat.
Hmm.
And if you're gonna, so in order for like let's just say a console to have 4080 performance in a smaller box, do you know how much cooling you're gonna have on that system in
Yeah.
order for that? There's a reason that micro cases and small form factor cases, there's not a lot of them that can really fit these high-end graphics cards because just the dissipation of heat will be a problem. So it's just when you sit here and you just think about what performance is, and I always go back to the fact that performance has never changed. People always test things, and like Slomo just said, so FromSoft sucks at optimization. But guess what people are still going to do? They're still going to put Elden Ring on, and they're still going to see
Yeah.
how it runs, because guess what? That game sucks in performance. Guess another game they're going to do? Jedi Survivor, because guess
Yeah.
what? The game sucked at the beginning, and they want to see what the performance looks like. Dragon's
Right.
Dogma, name the game. Hey, remember Crisis? Can it run Crisis? He,
Hmm.
Dog, Crytek couldn't optimize a code when they were doing Crytek with Crisis and stuff. But people still wanted to test their system out to see how much better performance they were getting on a game that they knew was truly not optimized. So
It's how you benchmark new hardware. You
it's
have
how
it
you do it.
run something that's either wildly unoptimized, and then take other hardware that's older or that's already established and been out, and then you benchmark it there too, and then you compare them. This is how like tech tubers do it when it comes to GPUs and CPUs. For CPUs, they, in order to make sure that you're just testing the CPU, they do it at 1080p resolution.
Yeah.
Anything above that, you're now going into really testing the GPU and not the CPU, and it's a pointless test. So they just do the 1080p. When it comes to the GPU, they will test it depending on the kind of card it is. They will test it for high-end cards. They'll test it at 1440p and 4K, and they will do that on games that are uh, typically well optimized, but just highly demanding, like Alan Wake 2 and Cyberpunk. Why those games? Because those games are doing some cutting edge stuff, and they're really, really, really hard to run because they're doing things that, like with path tracing and or just ultra ray tracing. Uh, the environments are really demanding. There's a lot going on there, and they'll use those games all the time. Cyberpunk is still used 4 years
Yep.
later in benchmark testing now. Alan Wake 2 will be used for years in benchmark testing, and then you'll get your games that are really, really unoptimized.
Yeah.
Dragon's Dogma 2 is, you still see it in benchmark testing because it's a really unoptimized game. And it's in Jedi Survivor, like Forte mentioned, is in there because it's an unoptimized game, but people want to play it. And so,
Mm-hmm.
can you brute force with newer hardware through that.
Yep.
That's what these tests are for, you know. So like we mentioned, I mentioned the 9800 AMD's newest CPU, which is the fastest CPU in the world, 9800X3D. You know,
I
when
have
you
to
look at
get
those
that.
benchmarks tests, it's at 1080p, but look at the games they're running. They're not. It's not Among Us.
Yeah, right. It's not Among Us. Facts. It's
they
not Among Us.
they're not running, and sometimes they'll also take some older games they know that are popular, like
Like,
CS:GO
or
or Rainbow Six Siege,
or
and you'll
even like
see it.
Tomb Raider.
Yeah, and you'll see it at like 500 frames per second. Why did they put it in there? Because there are people who still play the game and they want to know, you know, how does this piece of hardware run this game that I play? Bet you run Valorant at 5,000 frames per second. I want that. You know, like so they'll throw those in there sometimes, but they're not common. But like for the most part, every benchmark test, you'll see the same games
Yep.
over and over and over again. Matter of fact, I'm about to put in
I
4090 versus 7900 XTX. So that's like the best AMD card. And if you could, I got a hardware unbox video. They got these are the games they compared. The Last of Us Part 1. Why did they compare The Last of Us Part 1? Because it was horribly optimized.
mm-hmm.
That's why it's in there, because it's hard to run, because it's horribly optimized. Starfield, another one that is horribly optimized. Starfield's in there. Assassin's Creed Mirage, because when this video came out, that game was brand new.
Yep.
People want to play it. Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, hard to run with if you don't have the best hardware with ray tracing on it. They did their testing at the highest setting with high ray tracing on. Jedi Survivor, like we mentioned, why Jedi Survivor? Because Respawn can't optimize a game to save their life. Forza
Mm-hmm.
Motorsport, another unoptimized
Demise
release
game.
game. Um, Cyberpunk, as we mentioned, good, well optimized, fantastic game. One of the hardest games to run because it looks great. Spider-Man Remastered, not hard to run, well optimized, but a popular title that people want to play. Hogwarts Legacy, popular title, hard to run. Like this is Alan Wake 2, same thing. Like this is how it works. Um, and then they get into Counter Strike and Siege and Fortnite because those are popular titles.
And
But
games
every
fall
single
on and fall
time
off
you
of it.
right, and but
Like
every
Control
single
used to be one for ray tracing a while for a long time.
yeah, but then better ray trace games come out, and then they
Yep.
stop putting
It's
control in there because it's no longer hard to run. Yeah,
yep. Yeah. It's it's cool. I love it. You know the funny thing is, for me, I use because I do the same thing. I use all if food for thought. When I got my 4090, I told you one of my favorite games is BioShock Infinite. I played it because I had it installed. I just wanted to see what my frames were gonna be. Man, I was running like 380 frames in that game. I was like max settings, 380 frames, ultra wide. I was like, oh my God, it's great. But you know what I use? Like a lot of people use that. If my this is how I test my PC when I first get it. Like when I do any type of upgrades on it. I do 3D fur mark on my PC. You
yeah.
know I do that, you know, the little donut, and I let if that thing can run, if my PC can run for 30 minutes without turning off, I'm great. That's how like 30-minute benchmark is, and it's like the one tool that I use that every time I turn it on, I get scared because that thing is stressing your PC beyond. It's like my whole thing is, and my brother told me this a long time ago because he was the one that got me into building PCs. He's like, bro, listen, if your PC can survive this for 15 to 30 minutes, there is no game that will ever break your PC. So I always turn that on and let it run for at least 15, 20 minutes to like just to put my PC through its paces. And that's how you know you have something that's really freaking good. So yeah, listen, man, consoles is consoles, PCs are PCs. Um, I think the real reason is a lot of people are making decisions on consoles because PlayStation hasn't made the decision to like go day and date. And as
Yeah,
long as they don't,
and they
as,
want they're trying to keep people to stay on PlayStation, and
that's
they
what they're
don't
trying to
care
do.
if they bend the truth. You know, and that's why I was going hard on those people, because it's like, you're wrong. You're trying to manipulate people to
Yeah.
stay on your platform of choice. That's your platform of choice. If
Hmm.
that's no longer their platform of choice, like telling half truths or bending the truth or strip, lying to them to have them stay where they are, is only doing you a disservice, because then they're gonna start looking at you like you kind of compromise, you kind of full of it when it comes to this particular platform. I can't trust what you got to say, because you're going to say whatever it is to kind of make that platform look in a better light than it really needs to be. And
Yep.
and that's not saying people should go to PC. Some of them go to PC if realizes that for them. They don't want to maintain this or that. They don't want to do Windows updates. They don't want to do their GPU driver update, firmware updates. They don't want to see there be an issue. They don't want to deal with the fact that Unreal Engine, unfortunately, right now, a lot of these games that are coming out are on older versions of Unreal Engine 5. They're on like Unreal Engine 5.2, 5.3, and then Epic didn't fix the shader compilation issues that Unreal Engine has until 5.4. So we're not going to start seeing some real stable Unreal Engine games for another 2 years.
Yeah.
If you're not the kind of person that wants to deal with that kind of stuff, and there are far more Unreal Engine games that come out than like Dragon Age the Veilguard, which is in the Jumbotron right now that runs Frostbite, or Alan Wake that runs on Northlight Engine, or Cyberpunk that runs on Red Engine, where you don't have those issues, then you're going to be trying to play a lot of modern brand new games and having a hard time, with your first pass through the game, or the first time it runs a certain animation, because the shader compiler, even though it does it before you really even see the main menu, it misses things. Their pipeline for compiling shaders was not good up until 5.4. And unfortunately, this is Epic's issue, and Epic created that problem. And developers aren't going to delay their game another year to get their game on a newer version of Unreal Engine. No, you should have had it right the first time.
Right.
and they're going to launch it where it's at. Unfortunately, and unfortunately for us PC gamers, because we got to deal with it. If you're a console gamer, where there's only one SKU, really. And so they can do a lot of optimizing on console to make sure, and even though it's not foolproof, sometimes it shows up on console too, but they can make sure one SKU on a console is good to go versus the multitude of SKUs that you're going to get with all kind of different CPU and GPU configurations on PC. It's just, it is what it is. But if you're the kind of person that you don't want to deal with none of that stuff, stay on consoles, man.
Yeah, on consoles. Yeah, we're not gonna harp on it anymore. You guys know where we stand on it. It's you like PC, you like PC. If you like console, you like console. No big deal. To us, we just want people to understand what they are getting into and what they are purchasing, because I will tell somebody to their face that any Xbox gamer, because I still love Xbox, but I'll tell all Xbox gamers that I play the best version of Xbox games because I play them on PC, and that's the main reason why I came over here, because Xbox gave me the ability to do that. And and if you decide to want to stay on console because the PlayStation 5 Pro is a great upgrade for you, and you want to have the best version of PlayStation 5 games, I support that 100%. But just don't, try to tell people what is best and what isn't best. Just always talk about what's good for you. And that's how I always look at it. But with that being said, guys, it is 11:35. That is episode 203. We appreciate all of you guys in the chat for all the love and support. Make sure you guys hit the like button, sub button. Make sure you share this on social media with all your friends, and check out the and have your friends check out the audio version that will be up over the course of the next 24 hours. That definitely always helps broaden the horizon of the podcast too. With that being said, the homie SloMo, what's going on with you? What you got going on next? And where can they find you?
You can find me probably making a video discussing some of my my gripes with Dragon Age the Veilguard on the SloMoBackSlap. The SloMoBackSlap channel. In addition to why I stopped playing the First Descendant, I got a video that I'm working on about that, about my issues with Nexon and things that have continued to be unresolved, and the reason why I just don't have the time to do pointless grind any further with that game. And on this channel, probably a lunchtime with SloMo real soon. And I haven't done one in a while. And either finishing Alien Isolation or playing something else. If you guys want me to play something else, so just kind of like maybe in the comments after the video or in the chat right now if you want to. Make a recommendation that's not Death Stranding and not Bugsnax, and you know we'll consider it.
We'll roll with it. And for myself, Gaming Forte, YouTube, Twitter, Xbox Live, and PlayStation. Come check us out. Gonna be getting back into the swing and making videos and stuff again. Kind of miss it, and definitely want to get back into the swing of that. But with that being said, guys, if you are a person that picked up a PlayStation 5 Pro, I hope you enjoy the system. Make sure you're going out there and telling people and showing off your gameplay, because that is literally the best way to showcase how much you love the thing that you bought. Oh, and another thing, I don't want to hear people talking about how PC gamers spend $5,000 on their PC. I saw multiple people, lots of you guys.
They used to make up a number, man.
Yeah, multiple people posting pictures of two PS5 Pros, headset, controller, brand new 4K TVs. Listen, I don't want to hear none of y'all talking about, oh man, y'all spend like $3,000 on y'all PC. I don't want to hear it no more, bro. Y'all, way too many of y'all bought multiple consoles, brand new TVs, headsets, and controllers for people that don't even exist. I don't want to hear that. So with that being said, guy, I appreciate you. SloMo appreciate you, and we will talk to you guys next week.
Shout out to you guys that pick up your PS5 Pro, and instead of just laying it down in the floor of your passenger seat where it's safe and it slides around, they gotta put a seatbelt around it like it's a person, like they gave it a name. Here, Billy, here, Billy PS5 Pro. Let's get your seatbelt on. Like we want you to be safe. You gotta be safe on the road. What are you doing?
Nah, that was joyous right there. I was like, dog, people are out here like it's a kid.
Give him a booster seat too. Give your PS5 Pro a booster seat with the seatbelt. Why don't you do that too? Put a little boppy in his mouth. He don't have a mouth. Put it in the side of the little handhold holds where you put a little pacifier in there. Since we treat him like a child, you know what I'm saying? Put some clothes on him. Get him enrolled in school. You know, go private. What are we doing here?
Oh my god! Yo, no, that was. That's the thing I've meant to say all day, man. Just looking at Twitter. Twitter and X is grand. It's a grand. I love. And guess what? You guys provide the information. I mean, if y'all provide the entertainment, and we're definitely going to always talk about it here. But shout out to you guys buying 2 PlayStation 5 Pros and telling PC gamers that they spend too much money on their gaming habit. But we appreciate y'all. Y'all have a good night. We'll see y'all next week for 204. And enjoy the games that you're playing, and enjoy the brand new system if you got one. Peace.
Double check that seatbelt. We want to make sure it's secure, okay?
Gaming Forte